My name is Amina, and I'm 24 years old. When my dad died, my mother didn't hold me, she didn't protect me, she put me up for adoption, choosing her new husband and his family over her own child. Years later, after my adoptive parents helped me succeed and build a life she never believed in, my mother showed up uninvited at my wedding, grabbed my arm, and said, "I'm your mother." So I said. But before I tell you what I said, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment where you're watching from. I was 8 years old when my world shattered. My dad, the only person who ever made me feel safe, died in a car accident on a rainy Thursday morning. I remember sitting in the hospital waiting room, my small hand clutching his favorite watch that the nurses had given me. My mom sat 3 chairs away, staring at the wall, not crying, not reaching for me, just empty. Before Dad died, our house was filled with his laughter, his terrible singing in the shower, his bedtime stories that always ended with, "And they lived happily ever after, just like we will." He would pick me up from school every day, ask about my drawings, help me with homework at the kitchen table while Mom cooked dinner. We were a family. I thought we were unbreakable, but after the funeral, Mom changed. She stopped looking at me directly. She stopped saying good morning. She stopped tucking me in at night. Our house became this cold, silent tomb where I tiptoed around, afraid that even breathing too loud would make her disappear too. I kept waiting for her to hug me, to tell me we would be okay together, that we still had each other. That hug never came. 3 months after Dad's funeral, Mom started going out at night. She would leave me with the neighbor, Mrs. Chen, and come back smiling for the first time since Dad died. Then she started bringing him around. Richard, a man with cold eyes and a fake smile who looked at me like I was a stain on his expensive shirts. He never learned my name, just called me the kid, or her daughter, when he thought I couldn't hear. Richard had 2 teenage sons from his first marriage, and suddenly, they were at our dinner table every weekend while I ate alone in my room. I could hear them laughing downstairs, Mom's voice higher and lighter than it had been in months. When I came down for water, the conversation would stop. Richard would clear his throat. Mom would look at the floor. I was the ghost haunting their new, happy family. The emotional neglect was suffocating, but I told myself it was temporary. Mom was just sad. She just needed time. But then it became open rejection. Richard started staying overnight. His sons started leaving their things in Dad's study. And Mom started talking about fresh starts and what's best for everyone involved. If you're feeling this story so far, please hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Your support means everything to me. The day everything ended. I was sitting at the kitchen table doing homework when Mom and Richard walked in together, holding hands. Mom couldn't look at me when she said the words that would haunt me forever. "Amina, we found you a new family, a better family, people who can give you things we can't." Richard stood behind her like a shadow, his hand on her shoulder, and I saw him squeeze it encouragingly, like she was doing something brave instead of something monstrous. I was 9 years old, and I asked the question that still breaks my heart. "But Mom, I don't want a new family. I want you." She finally looked at me then, and her eyes were dry, completely dry. "This is what's best for you, Amina. You'll understand when you're older." But I understood perfectly, even at 9. I wasn't wanted. I was in the way of her new life, her new love, her new family that didn't include me. The social worker came the next morning. I packed my clothes in Dad's old suitcase, the one that still smelled like his cologne. I waited for Mom to change her mind, to run to me crying and say she made a mistake. Instead, she handed me Dad's watch and said, "Be good," like I was going to summer camp instead of being erased from her life forever. There was no proper goodbye, no tears from her. No explanation about how she would visit or call or write. She looked relieved when the car pulled away, Richard's arm already around her shoulders as they watched me disappear through the back window. I pressed my face against the glass until our house became a dot. Then nothing. 9 years old, and I was already learning that love could be conditional, temporary, disposable. The Johnsons weren't rich. They lived in a modest 2-story house with a creaky front porch and a garden where Mrs. Johnson grew tomatoes that never quite ripened. But when they introduced themselves, they looked directly into my eyes. Mr. Johnson knelt down to my level and said, "We're so happy you're here, Amina. We've been waiting for you." Mrs. Johnson cried when she hugged me, not from sadness but from joy. And that was the first time in months that someone's tears were because of me, not despite me. They weren't perfect parents, but they were present. They showed up to every school play, every parent-teacher conference, every scraped knee and broken heart. When I had nightmares about Dad or about being sent away again, Mrs. Johnson would sit on my bed and stroke my hair until I fell asleep. When I got my first period and felt embarrassed and scared, she made me hot chocolate and told me I was becoming a beautiful young woman. When I graduated high school as valedictorian, they were in the front row crying louder than anyone else, holding a banner with my name on it. "We're proud of you," became a phrase I heard so often it started to heal the wound my biological mother had left. These people chose me every single day, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. They taught me that family isn't about blood, it's about showing up. It's about choosing to love someone even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, even when the world gives you an easier option. I never looked back. I never reached out to my biological mother. I changed my last name to Johnson when I turned 18. I built my life on the foundation of love my adoptive parents gave me, and I flourished. I graduated college with honors, got a job at a marketing firm, met the love of my life, David, who proposed to me in the same garden where Mrs. Johnson's tomatoes finally learned to ripen. Please subscribe if you want to hear how this story ends, and comment your location so I know where my story is reaching people around the world. The day of my wedding was perfect. September 15th. Golden sunlight streaming through the church windows, my adoptive parents seated in the front row where parents should be. Mrs. Johnson was crying happy tears again. Mr. Johnson kept adjusting his tie nervously, and I felt this deep, peaceful joy that comes from being surrounded by people who chose to love you. David looked at me like I was magic. Our friends filled the pews with laughter and support. And for the first time in my life, I felt completely, unconditionally wanted. I was greeting guests after the ceremony when I saw her. 15 years older, grayer, wearing an expensive dress that probably cost more than my adoptive parents spent on my entire education. She looked smaller somehow, more fragile, but her eyes still held that same coldness I remembered. My biological mother had found me. She approached slowly, like she was afraid I might run. People around us started to notice the tension, conversations quieting, everyone sensing something was about to happen. She reached out and grabbed my arm, her fingers cold against my skin, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Amina, I'm your mother." The audacity. The absolute, breathtaking audacity. Here, at my wedding, surrounded by the people who actually raised me, who actually loved me, who actually showed up, she wanted to claim me. She wanted to take credit for the woman I had become, the success I had built, the happiness I had found. All without her. I looked at her for a long moment, taking in her desperate expression, her expensive clothes that suggested Richard's business had done well, her manicured hands that had never packed my school lunch or braided my hair or held me when I cried. Then I smiled, calm and controlled, and said exactly what she needed to hear. "You're not my mother. You're the woman who gave birth to me and then threw me away when I became inconvenient. My mother is sitting in the front row crying happy tears because she's proud of the woman she helped raise. My father is adjusting his tie because he's nervous about his speech at the reception. You're just a stranger who shares my DNA and chose a man over her own child. Security will escort you out now. I turned to my adoptive father and said, "Dad, would you please dance with me?" The look of pride in his eyes as he took my hand was worth every moment of pain my biological mother had ever caused me. As security walked her toward the exit, she turned back and screamed, "I did what I had to do. I gave you a better life." But her voice was drowned out by the music starting up, by my new husband's hand in mine, by the applause from people who had watched me choose love over bitterness, chosen family over biology. The rest of my wedding was perfect. We danced until midnight, told stories that made everyone laugh, and I felt surrounded by the kind of love that doesn't disappear when things get hard. The kind of love that shows up and stays.
You see, my biological mother was wrong about one thing. She didn't give me a better life by abandoning me. My adoptive parents gave me a better life by choosing me every single day for 15 years. The success she tried to claim credit for, I built that with people who believed in me when she couldn't even look at me. The happiness she interrupted at my wedding, that came from learning that I was worthy of love, something she never taught me. If you've made it this far in my story, please hit that subscribe button and comment where you're watching from. I love connecting with people from all over the world who understand that family is about choice, not blood. Some people might say I was too harsh, that she was grieving too when Dad died, that maybe she thought she was doing what was best for me. But I was 9 years old and I needed my mother more than she needed her new life. There's no excuse for abandoning your child because love becomes inconvenient. I learned something that day at my wedding that I want to share with anyone who's been abandoned, anyone who's been made to feel like they weren't worth fighting for. You are not responsible for other people's inability to love you properly. You are not required to forgive people who never asked for forgiveness. And you are absolutely not obligated to give people access to the life you built after they tried to destroy you. Thank you for listening to my story. Please subscribe for more content and remember, you are worthy of love that stays.